I think I probably told this story before, but I'm not sure if I have. I'm not sure if I have. I just ordered some groceries, so I gotta do that. I have an interview lined up for next week. It's on the books now, you guys. It's on the books. It's on the books. And she actually sent me some homework to do in advance too. I gotta do like a writing sample for her, so I'm gonna be working on that later today. Um, but I do have kind of a funny story. Okay, so this is I spent my son's entire life trying to really not say anything negative about his dad, like the whole time. Despite the fact that like I had a lot of negative experiences with his dad, I did my best to like not weigh in and not have like an opinion and not paint a bad picture of his dad. Um, and it wasn't until he was 18 or slightly older that I told him like how things really went down, right? Um, this is an early example of don't fuck with me. This is a very early example of how you should not fuck with me. So my ex-husband was cheating on me while I was pregnant. He was cheating on me while I was pregnant. And I had a pretty traumatic birth experience. I had an emergency C-section. I almost died in labor. While I was in labor, first of all, I was a week late, and I was induced because we were trying to time the birth for when my husband would be in town because he was a long haul truck driver. And so we wanted to have the baby while he was there, right? So I got induced, and apparently ladies don't ever get fucking induced. If you don't have to be induced, don't be induced, because it can create all kinds of problems for you. And I've heard multiple stories now that when you're induced, you don't fully dilate, and it can cause, and that's what happened to me. That's what happened to me. So this is apparently a thing. So if you don't have to be induced, don't get fucking induced. All right, so I was a week late. I got induced so that we could have the baby. We could have my little Cody Bear while Dan was in town. And it was a long-ass labor. So I was induced at like 9 in the morning. I didn't have him until close to 1 a.m. the next morning. And God, it was so painful. It was the most painful experience. The only thing that was close to it for me, pain wise, well, okay, so the nerve damage I had that caused like severe pain in my left arm, that was pretty painful, but not close to this. Wisdom teeth, dry socket from wisdom teeth, that was pretty close too, but that lasted a month. I'm talking about like one day of the most intense pain I've ever had in my life, right? It felt like the hand of God was coming down and squeezing the shit out of my entire abdomen. They did give me some painkillers, which kind of got me through the first few hours of it. And then when that wore off, it was horrible. It was insanely horrible. And I had, an IV going on. And I remember at one point I went to the bathroom and I'm like super huge. I had gained 70 pounds. And I'm super huge and I'm trying to get down to the bathroom and my fucking IV pops out and I'm like spurting blood all over the place. It was the grossest shit ever, you guys. They had to fix that. The nurses were not exactly very nice. So like by the time I left, I had bruises all over my arms from them reinserting the IV and shit, because they were brutal. But after the pain meds wore off, first of all, my husband left. He left the hospital to go play pool with his buddies while I was in labor. He went to go drink and play pool with his buddies. while I was in labor. And, but at the same time, when he was there, he was so overbearing in the hospital room that my mom, who was my coach, felt like she was pushed off to the side, right? So I had no fucking coach while I was going through this. My mom is sitting in the corner on her laptop typing her holiday letter. I have no fucking coach. My husband's being an asshole. Then he fucking goes off to play pool. And I'm like, he came back. He comes back. And I was so exhausted and so in so much pain that the way I got through it, the way I got through this was I was replaying in my head, tomorrow at this time it will be over. And to my mind, that would be, I'm either going to survive or I will die. And either way, it will be over. That was what was going through my head while I was in labor. One way or the other, this will not be happening tomorrow at this time. It was so painful, you guys. It was so horrible. It was so fucking horrible. And then at some point, I asked for the anesthesiologist. That was like the only thing I could muster to speak, because I just didn't even have the energy to speak. I said, where is the anesthesiologist? And at this point, my husband had come back from playing pool. And he said, stop being so abusive to the nurses. That was literally the only thing that had come out of my mouth during the entire fucking labor, because I was so exhausted. And he made it out like I was trying to be abusive to the nurses by asking for the anesthesiologist. They came, they did the epidural. I didn't even like fucking feel it because I was in so much pain. I couldn't even feel them penetrate my spine. I couldn't even fucking feel it. And when they did it, it wasn't done properly. So only half of my body numbed up. I don't remember much of this, but what my family members have told me is that they heard the hospital staff yelling "stat" a lot, and they wheeled me into the emergency room for an emergency C-section. And my mom didn't even have enough time to gown up to be present for the birth. They wheeled me in there. I remember they put a mask over my face. And I said, I can't breathe. And they said, just keep breathing. It's happening. I don't know if like maybe whatever they were giving me just like didn't come in fast enough or whatever. But it felt like I was suffocating. And next thing I know, I'm out. So they had to put me completely under. I woke up. There's nobody in the fucking room. I'm there by myself. Literally there by myself. I have no idea what's happened. I have no idea if my son is alive or dead or what's going on. And somebody, I'm like coming to, and somebody explains comes in and explains what's happened. So they put me in this room, and the only two people who stayed that late at night was my husband and his mom. And I was so pissed at both of them at that point. It's like, this is the worst birth experience ever. But I did get to hold my baby for the first time. And then he made the rest of the hospital. I had to stay there for 3 days, and he made the rest of the hospital stay just as miserable. He was horrible. On the last day that we were there, let me pause and come back. I'm going to pause and come back to the story because somebody's at my door.